Our last movie this week was, in fact, not picked by anybody. We watched this in theaters. Nico did not watch in theaters yet. He planned on doing it at some point, but you'll never know his thoughts. Teehee! It is the 2024 film Nosferatu. Tanner, take us away.
Nosferatu is the story of a young woman named Ellen. She is linked to Nosferatu, who is a vampire. She is married to a man. The man is sent on a business trip under false pretenses, and he falls under the spell of Nosferatu, and then he escapes him, and then Nosferatu is coming to town, and he's gonna fuck your shit up. And then a doctor and his eccentric wizard friend decide they need to stop Nosferatu.
What's your fun fact?
I don't have... Hold on.
Oh, god damn it. I guess I'll fill the air. So this child of Johnny Depp's, is this supposed to be the child of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp? Because if that's the case... Okay, thank God. How old is this kid? I didn't even look any of this shit up. While Tanner looks that up, I will say, man, this movie, it was really good. So, I want everybody to know I'm operating off of the pretenses that I did think that this was a very well-made movie. It just wasn't my kind of movie, but I am not necessarily going to let that affect the rating of said movie. I think the setting and the environmental pieces were really well done. I often look at movies like this and wonder... because you always have to, wonder where they film this kind of stuff, because it's probably going to become increasingly hard to film movies in what you would call olden times. I think we do have cities and towns. Oh, Tanner's got his fun fact? Maybe?
I do have my fun fact. Bill Skarsgård was originally cast as Thomas Hutter. However, during the film's long pre-production, the director, Robert Eggers, decided to recast Skarsgård as Count Orlok / Nosferatu instead.
Huh.
Good pivot on their part.
I don't know what bearing that has on the movie. I'm gonna assume that it's good.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Was that guy just...
Can you repeat back to me what I just said?
No. They recasted some guy as the main boy to Nosferatu instead.
Yes, Bill Skarsgård was originally cast as the main male protagonist, and then they changed him over to Count Orlok.
Fair enough, dude.
Which is a good choice because the Nosferatu performance... I mean, all of the performances are really good.
Yes.
But the Count Orlok performance specifically... is fucking stellar, dude. He is so genuinely creepy and off-putting, and his voice is fucking perfect for just making you like, dude, I'm so fucking scared right now. Jesus Christ.
He's Latin, right? That was Latin what he was speaking? I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, a lot of it was Latin.
I thought for a movie that was primarily shot in Germany, the lack of German people in it was rather funny. And the German language for that fact. But anyway.
I mean, you don't know how many of these people were not German.
I mean,
they weren't speaking German, sure.
Yeah, that also wasn't really in their accents. There were like a handful. Anyway, not the point. I am curious. You said that this movie did something that you just really don't see anymore. I'd like to hear what that is, because I'm wondering if I also got that.
What really struck me about this movie as I was watching it, that made me say, oh, they don't really make movies like this anymore, is, I feel like this movie respects the audience's intelligence a lot more than most modern movies. Like, it is far more subtle in a lot of the themes and even the events than most other movies nowadays do, and I really appreciate it for that.
I think this is potentially one of the best shot movies we have seen. I think the cinematography, a lot of the things they did with the transitions, camera angles, the fucking color grading were super well done, and they fit the setting super well. Like, it felt like I was literally just in black and white in a lot of scenes, which of course is likely a callback to the original 1922 film. There were plenty of scenes that did have like color that fit super well. So many really interesting transitions. Like a few of them were like fucking Ellen was like walking towards the door, for example, and then her like whole body is like covering the camera, and then it fucking switches around and it's Nosferatu walking. So many cool creative shots in this movie. It is a visual treat, and I think it peters off with like the inventiveness of it a little bit in like the second half of it. The first half I think really took the show, especially like, you know, the walk to his castle and like meeting Nosferatu. There's a lot of interesting things they did with that. Not saying that the latter half wasn't like a visual treat as well. They had plenty of really cool shots as well. But yeah, this was just a very stunning movie to watch. I think there were some weaker performances. I'm not crazy on Frederick's performance generally, but I think most of the main characters did a good job. I think Ellen did a good job of appearing fucking manic and possessed, and her husband did a good job reciprocating with this. It was just a really well-made film overall. I think my biggest criticism probably is just the pacing. It definitely felt quite slow.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like setting, establishing shots. This was a very artsy feeling movie, and they leave a lot of runtime to be artsy, which could potentially leave a sour taste in somebody's mind. Like it just feels like a long ass fucking movie. This movie felt like we were like an hour in a half an hour, and it's in like over 2 hour long movie. It feels long.
Honestly, it didn't feel that long to me, but I was like completely engrossed the entire time. Like it had me hard.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something I remember mentioning to Jackson, is this movie felt so long. And that's not a knock on the movie necessarily. Like Jackson was alluding to, this movie was very, very well made. You guys obviously understand movies to a much deeper degree than I do, so I'm not going to sit here and try to psychoanalyze or delve deep into what this movie is or is not. I will say, yeah, like, ode to the performances, especially Ellen. Like, it's not, I'm just, you know, for obvious reasons, it's not easy to fake a fucking seizure. I'm just saying, like, her, I'm never, but I do, one other funny thing I wanted to say, this has nothing to do with anything, SpongeBob did not set me up properly for this movie, Nickelodeon, get better. And I was gonna save this, I was gonna tell Jackson this bit, I wasn't planning on saying this on the episode, Jackson, but I was gonna make the funny comment of, man, much like Final Fantasy XIV, this movie lights its rotations with its camera shots. Anyway, but yeah, I do generally think the way that this movie was shot, the performances by everybody, and just the creep factor. I like how this movie didn't solely rely on jump scares for its, you know, where it was getting its horror from. I will say that's the only parts that actually got me, which, you know, jump scares it's the easy way to get anybody. But there was still a sense of mystery. I will say one of the most intriguing parts of this movie was as he was going to the castle, and for slow people like me, I'll just preface with that, I didn't put together that the guy sending Frederick to the castle was the guy who was doing the fucking occult shit on the floor. I didn't put that together immediately, because then I was like, well, what happened to that old guy on the ground who was basically summoning Nosferatu? And then eventually, you know, before it was super obvious, I put it together. But then it also goes to the fact of, like, okay, so this guy's obviously trying to go secure a future for him and his wife and his future family. But, like, at what point is it... Because a lot of horror movies, as we've experienced in the past, it's based a lot off of conveniences. And it's like, oh, of course they made this choice because the plot has to progress. Of course this happened because XYZ. But this movie does a really good job of setting up, okay, is he doing this because he's trying to secure the deal? Or is it... And I guess it could go three ways, but that third way very immediately, like, went out of the way. And then I was like, is it convenience-based? Or is this straight up just Nosferatu using his vampiric influence powers? And then the movie did a really good job balancing the two between, is he trying to get the deal, or is this, like, Nosferatu's, you know, magics or whatever?
My interpretation is, once he wakes up in the castle the first time and he has been bitten, from that point on is when he's, like, very much sort of mind-controlled.
I don't know, because I feel like even before then, there's, like, obviously a radius of influence, because even before he reaches, like, the gypsy village, and they were like, yeah, don't go to that castle, you're fucking insane. Even before, because he was having nightmares and shit, too, and, you know, he had the weird shoes on, he had the little, like, pendant thing that they gave him, he was confused by all of that. I think even then, Nosferatu's influence was infringing on his mindscape.
They did say specifically not to even go near the castle just because this fucking shadow, like, stretches and will, like, fucking consume you. I definitely think there is an argument to be made with what Dylan's saying, that even just, like, approaching it is enough to, like, have some sort of influence on you.
Yeah.
Because, like, his logical decisions to fucking get into the unmanned fucking cart with the fucking horses that jump scared him and then disappeared, and then fucking like, I don't think any sane person would actually do that, but also, like, maybe he's like, dude, I need some fucking sleep. I'm just tripping. Who knows? We don't really know what's going on in his head. Or even if that was, like, really realistically happening at all, or if it was all just, like, mind games.
Yeah, and that's
fair enough.
When the carriage showed up, that's when I was kind of solidifying. Like, I don't think... This movie hasn't set up conveniences thus far. I doubt it is at this point. I was more set on the fact that it was, in fact, Nosferatu's influence. And even when he was inside the castle, getting the papers signed and all that kinds of stuff, Frederick was... like, showing behavior of him trying to get him to buy the property. So it's still getting the audience to try and believe that everything is as it should be and, you know, is normal. But there's still, like, Nosferatu was using, I guess what we'd use is, like, I immediately lost the word, but just influencing words. Like, suggestive terms. And it was like, if you know about that kind of stuff, you can kind of catch it, where Nosferatu was, like, basically trying to encroach on his mind. But yeah, I like how in this movie too, how we had two different sets of people die while having sex. I thought that was kind of a weird thing I don't know why I caught that. That was just kind of funny. And what's funny is they were both with dead people. I don't really have anything else crazy to say.
Yeah, I really like that aspect of the Count Orlok character where he himself is not a major, like, physical threat. But just, like, him being around causes stuff to start going wacky. Like, people go crazy, or, like, he has those plague rats that just go along with him. The stuff they do with his shadow is really neat. Like, in the beginning, when Ellen is talking to him, and you see in the drapes, it's his shadow, but he's not there.
Sick. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff was cool. I really like the... It's almost like cosmic horror, the way they set up that Count Orlok exists because Ellen has some kind of connection to the supernatural that she's had since birth, and that she kind of enabled him to exist. And then, you know, our main guy having to wrestle with what that means, you know?
Yeah.
I really like William Dafoe's character, the, like, eccentric doctor. I think great performance, and I really like that character.
Very surprising addition.
I'd say my biggest complaint about this movie is the jump scares. Not all of them, but I think a few of them are, like, completely unnecessary and frankly, like, not ruin, but they like... A jump scare will always, like, diffuse tension that you're building up in a scene.
True.
And this movie, I think, is all about atmosphere and tension and, like, being creeped out. And throwing in a jump scare, like, always, it puts you back at zero and you have to build those feelings up. And I feel like a couple of them did not need to be in this movie. Because it was so strong in the other ways you can do horror, which is just through, atmosphere and whatnot.
Given that explanation, I think I understand your guys' perspective on that matter then. Because before you guys were like, jump scares are just a cheap way to make a horror movie, and I didn't fully grasp that. When you put it that way, that makes a lot more sense. Especially in a movie like this. I totally get that.
Yeah. Jackson, do you have any closing thoughts?
I think it's a very well-made movie. I think it could have been a little bit shorter, potentially. Honestly, I didn't really like William Dafoe's character that much, too. He felt a little out of place with the theme of the movie, just because everything was, like, really dark and dreary, and then he was just kind of like a little bit of a ray of sunshine a bit with all of it. It felt a little out of place to me. Now, this isn't, like, a crazy criticism or anything. His, like, student as well, like, going along with him pretty quickly too. Maybe you can imply that he has more respect for this dude than others, given he was like recommended him regardless. But like, I feel like any practicing doctor that has like would kind of just assume this dude that started going to like a cold shit has just gone fucking mad, and they wouldn't really dig too much deeper into it than that. But clearly, this guy has a lot more respect for him than I guess we are led to believe. Because I felt a little bit unnatural with how quickly he like was helping out with all of this shit, and under the assumption that he was correct about like her being like possessed by a devil or whatever.
Well, and I guess my closing thoughts, since you brought that up, my only thing with that, though, too, is I can see where you're coming from. The thing is, because he very, like, it is a huge respect thing. This guy respected me, was his teacher, he learned everything he had to know from him. He did also acknowledge the fact that he was kind of shunted or shunned from his practice because he started believing in the occult things. He acknowledged that right off the bat. And he didn't seem like he was too far out from disbelieving that, or else he obviously wouldn't have suggested it. So I think any semblance of him being okay with what his professor believes in is not too far-fetched. But I'm much less likely to suspend my disbelief. So I think I said that wrong. You guys know what I mean. I honestly thought his character was gonna die. I thought he was just gonna be like, this is our one solution to everything. And usually in movies like this, that's how that person dies. It's like, oh shit, he was our only link to figuring out what the fuck's going on, and he's dead now. I was 100% sure that's where this movie's going. I like that they didn't do that, I think. And the fact that he didn't solve it immediately, he's like, yeah, I don't fucking know what's going on. And then they had to figure it out from there. I thought that was a good end, like a good way to end it. They didn't do the cliche thing.
Oh, so. I guess one question I have too, maybe I'm just a retard and I just fucking missed something, but they specifically mentioned that they didn't want to do anything with Ellen's husband, who I'm bringing the name of, because they said they have use for him still. But he was like a big reason why Nosferatu ended up, or not Nosferatu, but Count Lorne, like whatever, died. What was the use they had for him? What did he serve for the bad guys in the end?
You mean the nuns saying that about him?
No.
No, when they very first got into Germany, like when he arrived from the boat and he was having that talk with the fucking realtor in the house with him, the realtor specifically suggested that he was just going to go fucking kill that guy, and then Nosferatu said to not do that because he has use for him. What the fuck was the use for him? I never saw any of that.
Because it was mentioned a little more after that, especially after the occult doctor joined up. But he's like, Frederick ends up being like, oh, I can feel him. He's still partially in control of my mind. The nuns just helped kind of get rid of it a little bit based on their spiritual healing. So I think it's because Nosferatu knows he still had a influencing grasp on his mind for the most part, like partially. So I'm sure he was like probably banking on the fact like he still had mind control on Frederick is the only conclusion I can draw to that.
Honestly, throughout a lot of this, it didn't really there are some mind games you could go off of during like him going to the castle and maybe staying there for longer than he should have, but I feel like they really didn't see a ton about him doing anything with him at all.
My assumption is because one of the things is Count Orlok needed Ellen to submit to him willingly. I assume he kept Thomas around because he needed to in some way use him to manipulate him into betraying her, or causing some kind of rift between them. Because if he just kills him, then she would probably be like, you killed my husband, fuck you.
Yeah. I almost want to say they dropped the ball on that one. It feels like I thought I didn't think about it till you brought it up. That actually reminds me, Jackson probably knows what I'm talking about when I say this. There was a part of the movie where I just started giggling because I thought it was goofy as shit. It was the part where Frederick comes back and he knows at that point what Nosferatu is, and then they're just fucking angry and fighting with each other, and so she's fucking angry, and he's like, I'm gonna go get the doctor. She's like, no, I'm sorry, I take it back, and then proceeds to fucking sexually, throw herself upon him, and then they do the deed. And then, I don't know, that whole fucking scene was goofy. Do you know which part I'm talking about, Tanner?
I do. Now I'm thinking of, how does him potentially still being under Orlok's influence impact that scene specifically?
I don't know. I just thought it was goofy because it went from them being angry to her submitting to them having sex to her immediately then going into having a fucking seizure and him like, oh my god, I'm freaking out. I just thought it was a very weird, emotionally dynamic scene. It was very odd that they decided to go that route. I don't know.
I disagree, but I don't
need
to go into...
She also in the same scene was like, you can never please me like he can. And then he just takes that as a fucking... She's like, alright, well, we'll fucking see. And then just goes for it. I thought that was extremely goofy. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Anyways, I have nothing else to say unless something comes up to me when we're doing our re-rankings, but I don't think it will.
Same.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
I'll kick us off with a solid A. I think it's about this. It's a little higher than The Witch for me.
I personally think I might have to go back and rewatch The Witch. I'm assuming Tanner's gonna be the highest on this movie, so I'll go next. It's a little higher than The Witch for me. I need to probably go back and rewatch it. I thought the movie was boring as fuck. But yeah, I thought, although despite it not being my kind of movie, I can see the proficiency in its entirety. I gave Nosferatu an A+.
Yeah, I like this one significantly more than The Witch. I think a big part of that is it has a much cleaner, like, through-line story, probably because it has, a very front and center identifiable antagonist. And right now I'm gonna give this one an S. It might need to go up, because I think this might be my favorite horror movie we've seen.
There we go.
Do you like this more than The Thing?
That's what I'm pondering.
The Thing
right
really
now.
is the fucking mountain for our horror movie rankings here.
True.
Yeah.
That was a peak movie.
The Thing was really
Agreed.
good. I want to watch The Thing again, just because I really liked it the first time I watched it. I'm curious, but that was also a relatively early movie we picked, so I'm curious if I still enjoy it the second time around. Anyways,
Yeah, I'm gonna stick it in S for
and
now.
that puts it at an A+ overall.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
How exciting!